Hey, pues no pues net new little video. On this one I want to kind of extend the rule of three, so this is why I call it the new rule of three, kind of a video concept. The videos that kind of got me into thinking about that concept is one from the Canadian prepper called the micro versus the macro preppers and survivalists, and not so much the concept that he was mentioning in this, but one of the things that he said is like everything that we do is energy, and it kind of resonated with me and kind of got me to think about one idea. And this is the idea that I'll talk a little bit more on the second part. And the other part is the prepping mat from The Power of Three by Urban Prepper. And this video was very good because it's kind of extended how like the number three when you prepare is quite important. And I really enjoy his video. It's an old one, but worth to review. And again, all those videos will be down below. The thing that kind of got me to put all those together is that I was reading today, and I'll put the link of where I read that, but it's a course that basically on prepperness, or survivalist I should say, and one of the concepts he was mentioning is survivalist versus prepper. And I don't want to get into the definitions of whatever, but the concept of it I really enjoyed, where what he's mentioning, prepper is more somebody that gather items, so basically, you know, ammunitions and firearms and stuff, and you stockpile something and stockpile food and stuff, whereas survivalist is more like a mindset and a way of doing stuff in this, and it was quite interesting because he does have a point on this. I don't want to get into the words themselves, but the concept of it has a lot of people will be only prepared, and when you read watch their videos or something, when they talk about is their plan, right? Like, I'm gonna go to location X and there's everything and stuff, but it's like, what if location X is destroyed, or what if you cannot get to location X? What then? And they doesn't seem to have anything ready for it, and I keep mentioning in a lot of my videos, but whatever event that's going to happen, then you need to apply those things. The rules that are right now in progress may not apply, and so whatever we're thinking now, we can have like a black swan thrown at us, and suddenly it throws all the rules that we were thinking, because suddenly there's new rules invented. And so this is where survivalist has a little bit whatever he calls a survivalist has more this dexterity of changing in preparation. And so I did a video in the past of talking about situational awareness and stuff, and I thought it tied up well with this concept, but it's kind of to extend a little bit this thing, and the video there'll be a link below, but basically now my new rule of three inside, because with the influence of the urban prepper, I've been doing kits inside kits, and now everything that I'm going to do, every kit, so fire kits and stuff like that, will have a main item, a backup item, and how to improvise item to ties up to this more skills versus just having items. Because of that, because if I lose the kit, then I still have the skills on how to do. So for example, fire would be a bic, a ferrous rod, and in an urban environment, how to make fire out of product like the brake fluids and things like that. So how to create like chemicals fires. So that would be a good way of improvising a flame when you don't have the main stuff. Antenna in my communication kit. So in my kits I have a main antenna, kind of a backup antenna, but also what else around in my environment that I could use to create an antenna if I lose my antenna. So this improvising concept to think in advance can come very handy, and only that it opens your mindset and your awareness of your environment, because now when you walk somewhere, like, oh, look at that, I could improvise with this or that or stuff, but also it creates that if you lose your kit, you're still able to do something with it. And to tie it up to the medical stuff, so now when I do my wound care, I got my 21st century wound module, but also I have an improvise a backup one, so dressings that I can reuse. But also now questioning myself on how can I improvise dressing, how can I use some stuff, so my clothes now, how could I change that into dressings. So knowing how to sterilize dressings or clean dressings, so just having that technique in mind and practicing it and can become pretty important. And the second part of that concept, and that's where the video of Canadian Prepper kind of got me this image, comes from this energy bar. And if you ever played video games or something, and especially like this game is called Mortal Kombat, you have a whole selection of different fighters, and each of them have strengths, and so usually it's shown in bars like this, so that energy bar right over there. And what it does is that each of them have like a strength and offense and defense and stuff, and so you need to learn how to work with that. And so this is where this video tied up with another rule of 3 that now when I prepare my things has this time frame. So I always prepare my kits for this 72 hours, 7 days, and more than 2 months. And why those 3? Because it's a different approach. And now in my kits, when, for example, my medical modules that goes with that 72 hours is a different approach than my my same medical thing in 2 months, because my needs in 2 months and 72 hours are not the same. And so if I can take an example of the food module and apply those energy bars, so actual food here, and tied it up to this other rule of 3 that I've just mentioned earlier as my main, my backup, and my improvising. As you can see here, for 72 hours, my main prep, so that means like actual food, so like solid food, will be much bigger than in my 2 months. Why? Because at 72 hours, I don't really have the time to go hunt or do anything like this, because I'm trying to either go back home or get away from a situation, so like a riot and stuff. So I don't really have time to go and chase squirrels and stuff around the stuff. So my prep here would be more 90% solid prep and then 10% improvisation. At 7 days, it would be a little bit 60-40. So for example, it would be like carrying 7 days of food, but having also in the kit some way to supplement what I need, because not only that food weighs a lot, so that means like it decreased the weight that I need to carry, but also is that if my camp gets attacked and I have to run away or something, well, I need to be able to survive and to gather food so that I can, because if I go 7 days without food, then it's a little bit more of an impact than if I go ahead without food for 72 hours. And then when we're talking about 2 months, it's even more important to improvise. So actually now it's more 80-20. And the reason why is that not only that having 2 months of supply is big, but also a situation that would create 2 months that I need to be off the grid for 2 months. That means that many other people could be impacted, and I may have to provide shelter for those people or a group or something like this. And this is where skills of how to gather more foods and stuff, so that I can either share my my supply, or I can provide food for them and keep the supplies for myself or something like this. But this is where improvisation gets way more important, and it's more when I prepare my kits, gets a bigger space in there. And when we talk about food, for example, in my main food, like if we go back to 7 days, I can have rice and beans and stuff as my main substitute, but as my backup, it could be like those survivor bars that last for 25 years and things like that. And so out of my here, as we said, 60-40, I could have like 40% is my main one, so rice and beans, and then another 20% is those energy bar. At 2 months, it could be a little bit the opposite. It could be like, because here it's 20-80, it could be 10% actual food, 10% those long 25 years supplies and stuff, and then the 80% will be like, well, I need to have a lot of stuff so that I can be able to hunt, and so maybe firearms and things like that would be a bigger stuff for my 2 months preparation. So for each kit, if you apply this battery kind of range, I find it kind of ties up together. So anyway, it's a concept that I'm going to try to apply now to my kits and my preparation, and I wanted to have your opinions, and so hopefully I'll see some good comments and have some discussion if you think that there's any merits to that or anything. And yeah, looking forward to your comments, and I'll talk to you soon.